Cornelli is one that you guys haven't seen before, but as you can see, I did kind of a reasonable facsimile of it here. Essentially, it's one line. It's one line. It has no corners, and the line never overlaps. So that's the concept behind it. It's one continuous line of curves that never overlaps, and it never has corners. What I'll usually do is I'll pick a spot, and I go up here with it, and I'll just make just lots of little curves, and you just go free form. But the idea is that it just keeps going. Now, at first, it seems like not much to it, but as you build a shape with it, you build a large area with it, it really starts to become very attractive. Because what it does is, even though let's say it's white and it's on a white border, on a white background, it'll be very attractive. And that adds a lot of texture to your particular project. I did a whole cake this way one time. Whole 3-tier cake. And
Early you stopped before the break.
oh yeah. Several. I think the Cornelli alone took me about 4 hours. Now, I don't know if you noticed that, but I got a little burst that came out.
So how much of the Cornelli do you want us to do when we turn our homework?
I would say do an area in the center of your board. Generally, when I do Cornelli on a cake, what I'll do is I'll border it. I'll actually say I want to have this one area of the cake, let's say a triangle, let's say for example. I'll cut that out of a piece of parchment, and I'll actually use that as kind of a template. I might even make a small pinhole on the corners of each corner of the triangle to give myself a guide. And then what I'll do is I'll do the Cornelli inside that triangular area until the Cornelli fills it. And it can be really quite amazing when you see this fill the area, because I'll go right up to the edge and then it'll just back off from there.
Not very original though. I feel like I'd just be making one kind of weird pattern. It can't be that random.
Well, this goes back to ancient Egypt. There are pictures of the inside of certain pyramids where they found this design actually like carved into the stone. Oh, now the sun's coming out really fast. Now the thing is, this is the ultimate paint yourself into a corner kind of situation. You got to kind of, every time you get into a tight spot, like this one where I was just in, you kind of plan yourself an exit plan. Because if you're trying to stay within a certain shape, it can be really challenging because you realize, oh God, I've only got this little teeny, like avenue where I can get my lace to go back out. But the idea here is to create the illusion of complete randomness. I've seen this in carved in stone in certain old ruins of Greece, old Roman ruins. You'll see it in paintings done at that period, all the way back to antiquity. And then even coming up to today. I can tell I'm clogged again. If you keep getting clogged, the thing to do is just kind of run it through. The smaller tip you use, the harder it is to get this stuff to go through it. Let's go back over here. Come on. Now I know Cornelli is a bit tedious, but it's well worth the work. So, again, the idea is that, now this is kind of not as fine as it could be because this is made out of buttercream. It's not really as fine a line as you could get with something else. But think about other materials like piping gel, royal icing, which is much smoother. We'll get into that next week sometime. We'll go ahead and make some royal icing and do some of this with that. it can be, I can get it down to, with certain materials, down to a point where it's like as thin as a pencil line. And then it's just gorgeous. You have this wonderful texture. There's really no color to it. But what it's doing, the only reason you can see it is because the light catches it. And you can do it in any shape you like. This is just, I'd say, a rudimentary version of it. What we're also going to do is a few different forms. A couple of different forms. We'll do some inverted shells, and we're also going to do some rope as well. And you can decide how you want to do this. If you're doing it on an 8-inch round, you may find that you run out of space a little bit. If you do it on a bigger round, you can have a lot more space. Inverted shells are like what we did on Black Forest cake. So let me do some of those. That's like a question mark and a reverse question mark. Question mark, reverse question mark. And it's one of the things I love about inverted shells is that they're just gorgeous. When they're done with a good shape, it's just really pretty. So that's inverted shells. And basically what it is a shell done as a question mark. You could conceivably do all forward question marks and you'd have a similar effect. But it doesn't look quite as elegant as it does when you have them inverted, going back and forth like that. Rope design is very similar in some ways, except that instead of doing question marks, we do little S's. So imagine a little S, another little S, another little S. And these aren't really dramatic S's. They're just soft, kind of gentle curves. But what it does, it creates the illusion of a twisted rope. And some people will get a little overzealous on the shape, and what they'll do is they'll create this big S, and that will never look like a rope when you do it that way. These big giant S's like that. It starts to look really it doesn't look like a rope at all. But if you make the S more of a gentle curve, and then you just sort of overlap slightly, so that they all interlock, that's where you create the illusion. Then you get this wonderful sort of twisted look. And this can be done beautifully this size, but it can also be done really nicely with small tips. When we get into like using royal icing, you're going to find that the really small star tip, like the ones you have in your small kit, can be really a lot of fun because the whole rope is only maybe 1/4 of an inch wide, and it just ropes along. You can use that as a border around the base of the cake. Of course, your inverted shells can look really nice in that shape as well, with any size star tip. This is the smallest large star tip I think you have, is the A24. I also have A23s, A20s, like little tiny ones, going all the way down to like a 0 size. So if you ever want to use them, you can for any project that we have, here in class. But what I'd like you to do for your homework project then is do some experimentation with rope. I would say if you're doing a round circle, probably do a border of rope and do a border of inverted shells, and then do a little cornelli in the middle. And I think you'll find this to be a little more challenging, especially after you've done what you've been doing, which is just you've been doing regular shells, straight snail trail. You've also been doing the rosettes and the pearls. All these are pretty basic forms, but this is getting a little more complex. Once we get into the next level, I'll probably bump it up in difficulty a little bit more. We'll probably get into something like basket weaving, where it gets to be a little more critical, and but a nice technique to use on cakes and on like the sides of cakes and things like that. So not too hard. Now, any of you want to take pictures, things like that, you can take pictures, and